Gah, man, when I make a video about this, I am very conflicted. When we talk about this player and we say our praises and we acknowledge just how much of a beast he has been, there's a part of me in my spidey sense that's saying, man, this is not a good video. This is not you. This is not you speaking from the soul, Lego. You're going out there and making a video about a topic that you really just don't care about. And I'll say this right here. You know how they say don't hate the player, hate the game? Yeah, well, I'm still on that phase of hating the player because of some things that happened in the past between him and my Vancouver Canucks Super Sweet EP40. But that's not gonna stop me from making a video talking about how this player, now a Montreal Canadien, has been absolutely dominant ever since returning to the Habs lineup sometime in January. Let's talk about one of the more underrated Marc Bergevin trades before the guy ultimately got canned, when they sent away Jeff Petrie and Ryan Poehling to the Pittsburgh Penguins, acquiring this defenseman in return. He's been a beast for the Canadiens' blue line, he's been racking up a whole bunch of points, and he's done so to such an extreme capacity that he's actually inserting himself into some Canadiens' defenseman scoring record history books. It's kind of crazy. Today we're talking about Mike Matheson, and just going over the profile, talking about the skills that he has, talking about what makes him such an effective defenseman, and why I don't like the guy. Okay, we'll leave that part till the end, because I'm sure a lot of Canadiens fans might feel a little bit intrigued by that. You know how they say, you hook a story, you hook the viewer in, you leave the punchline till the end so that they stay tuned for the entire time, but either way, Mike Matheson is a 29-year-old defenseman, 6'2", 187 as a left-handed guy, signed till the end of 2026, making $4.875 million a season. Now, just to get it out of the way, Mike Matheson was a Pittsburgh Penguin, and when he was a Penguin, he was a pretty okay guy. He posted up 31 points in 74 games played last year, but he got traded from Pittsburgh over to Montreal in the Jeff Petrie trade. Petrie is a guy making a much higher amount of money, and he is a little bit older too. Where Petrie is 35 years old, making, what's that dollar amount he is at, $6.25 until the end of 2025. So he's got 3 more seasons left. He's making more money than Matheson. Sure, he's right-handed, whereas Matheson is left, but Jeff Petrie was definitely towards the end of his reign of dominance as a Canadiens defenseman. He had stopped scoring 40 points every season, and he was sort of declining at the end of 21-22, which is why him and his contract were shipped away to Pittsburgh. Meanwhile, Mike Matheson was sent over to the Montreal Canadiens, and while he wasn't healthy for the entire year, he was sidelined from December to January with, I believe it was a lower body injury. When he has been in the lineup, and ever since he returned to the lineup in January, he has been an absolute stud on the point. 34 points in 46 games played for the Montreal Canadiens, 8 goals, 26 assists, and if you do the math right here, 34 divided by 46 multiplied out by 82, Mike Matheson is literally on pace for a 61-point year if you do this point production over a full calendar season. He is, by all means, a top scoring defender for this team. And when you watch the tape, it's easy to see why. Matheson is arguably the most mobile, most confident, and most, this isn't an adjective, but the most BDE playing defenseman on this roster. Sure, he's a lot older than the Caden Gouleys and the Harrises and the other guys, but that's okay, because he's using the strengths that he has to his advantage and putting on a show in the process. There are many plays where Mike Matheson will take the puck at the blue line, and he'll dash around the offensive zone, circling around the perimeter, protecting the puck, and eventually dishing it out to another guy who can throw another pass and it finds its way into the back of the net. Matheson is a dynamic, mobile defenseman whose confidence shows in all zones of the ice. Might I remind you, a few games ago against I forgot who it was against, I think it was the Maple Leafs, he displayed one of those really nice moves where breaking the puck out of his own zone, where he spin-a-ramaed around the Leafs forechecker and just easily opened up more space himself. He's so mobile, he's so confident, the footwork is so pristine, and combine this with his offensive instincts, it's kind of why he's got all the points that he does this season. And those points have reaped some really good rewards in the record books. Here's a tweet made by StatCenter from 2 days ago, that's when it was, the most points by a Canadiens defenseman in any 30-game span of a season since 1995. PK Subban had a 31-point stint in 30 games in 2012-2013. Andrei Markov had a 30-point stint. Sheldon Surrey, 29. Markov, 28. Mike Matheson had 27 since January 31st. And then you have Weber and Petrie, who each had 27-point spans in 30 games in 2019-20 and 2020-2021. Mike Matheson is literally producing like some of the best Canadiens defensemen this team has seen in the past few decades. No, 3 decades. This stat is since 1995, so essentially 3 decades, right? You also had yourselves this stat here by the same Twitter account, collecting 3 assists, 2 of them while shorthanded, and all 3 coming in the second period as part of the 6-2 win against the Capitals on Thursday. Mike Matheson owns the second most points on this list of defensemen that started their Canadiens career with some impressive offensive play. Most points by a defenseman in their first 45 games as a member of the Habs. You could see that Matheson was the second most productive guy, behind Sprague Cleghorn, who did his thing literally 100 years ago. So, yeah, when it comes to defensemen who are playing their first seasons as members of the Habs, this is literally the best defenseman we've had in 100 years. So, okay, cool. I mean, I'm not really going to go out there and say that I'm an expert on Sprague Cleghorn and his 1921-1923 season. I don't know why it says 1921. Was that a typo? But either way, you could see he's beaten out some other pretty good names like Chris Chelios, Shea Weber, M.A. Bergeron is on there too, so nice to see Marc-Andre putting himself back into the conversation here. You also had yourselves another really intriguing sort of stat that put itself up on the Habs on Reddit Twitter account. Here's some perspective for you. Cole Caulfield had 36 points in 46 games this season. Matheson has 33 points, so 3 fewer in the same amount of games played. So, Mike Matheson has literally been, if you just do the math over everything, he's been one of the most productive Canadiens players, not just defensemen, but players in general this season. And when you compare the defense numbers to other guys who have suited up on this blue line, he's literally one of the best in the past few decades. So, Matheson, with the skill set that he has, the revival of his career that he has had, and when it comes to that contract too, I mean, look, sign me up for a guy that's making under $5 million, scoring at a 60-point pace every season, who is only 29 years old right now. Pretty good. Now, the reason I wanted to sort of revisit the Matheson conversation too was because I still, even though I am a Canadiens fan and I cheer for the Habs and I cheer for their players to do good things, I still don't like the guy. And I think I'm always going to dislike the guy. And that's not really because of anything he's done with the Habs, but because of how he had behaved as a member of the Florida Panthers. You see, back in 2018-19, when Elias Pettersson was a rookie, he dangled the pants off of Mike Matheson in one of the games they played in that year. Matheson got pissed off, and as a result, instead of just fighting the good fight and continuing to play like a regular human being, he ended up body slamming, choke slamming Elias Pettersson onto the hard ice after the fact. Now, I will say that Pettersson since then has gotten a lot better at dodging physical altercations, being more of an instigator himself with reverse hits and defending himself more properly. He doesn't fall down as often as he did in his rookie season, but back in that time span, Mike Matheson was seen as public enemy number 1 in Vancouver because of the choke slam on Vancouver's best rookie they had had since Pavel Bure. And you know that quote from Superbad that Michael Cera goes out there and says, yeah, people don't forget, man. People don't forget, and I don't forget. I'm not forgetting about this anytime soon. So Mike Matheson could go out there and have himself the best season ever by a Canadiens player and have himself 100 points or whatever, but I'm still not going to go out there and cheer whenever he gets an assist. Sure, he's talented, and sure, he has some very good things that make Canadiens fans cheer for when they watch these games. But for me, sorry, fam. Nah, I'm still biased. I'm still trying to personally stick up for my boy Petey because I don't think any rookie deserves to get choke-slammed now, don't they? I know that it's fair to say that I'm being immature and talking about Matheson in this way is sort of painting me in a bad light, but I feel like I had some good karma. I feel like I did my good part in talking about the numbers and the points and what makes Matheson such a good defenseman earlier on in the video, that I have the right to say that I just don't like the guy still. That's fine, right? I don't know. Either way, you can let me know your thoughts in the comment section below about Mike Matheson being as good as he is for a Canadiens team that has needed things to cheer for. He is a legit number 1 defender on this team already, and I could not care less. I know a lot of Canadiens fans do. Y'all do care, and you're going to talk to me in the comments about Mike Matheson and how good he has been. But for me personally, yeah, no, I'm still sticking up for my boy Petey. I'm sorry, Mikey, but that's just kind of how I feel. Thoughts in the comment section below about Matheson and his explosion of points this season. I hope you enjoyed this Juraj 9, and bye.